Okay, so let's talk about the Viltrumite Empire. They're known as the most powerful race in the entire galaxy, right? They sell this whole story about being benevolent rulers, spreading peace and advanced tech. But what if that whole thing is just a really, really well-told lie? Today, we're going to peel back that propaganda and get into the brutal, bloody, and honestly, fascinating real history of Viltrum.
We're going to take a journey through their official story, then meet the tyrannical founder who started it all. We'll watch the civil war that tore them apart, break down their terrifying game plan for conquest, and then see how a tiny little virus brought them to their knees. And finally, we'll understand why their brand new mission puts Earth, well, directly in their crosshairs. So first things first, let's look at the story the Viltrumites want everyone else to believe. This is the official version, the one they're teaching in their schools and broadcasting to all the planets they want to help. On one hand, you've got the fairy tale, this utopian society of perfect beings just sharing their gifts with the universe. But then, you look at the brutal reality. Their idea of perfection was achieved by systematically wiping out anyone they decided was weak. So yeah, it's a history built on brutality, not benevolence.
To really understand how they got this way, we have to go back, way back to the beginning, to the real founder of the Viltrumite Empire, the absolutely tyrannical Emperor Argal. This guy is where their entire philosophy was forged. The whole Viltrumite culture, everything about them, is built on this one core concept: social Darwinism. And for them, it's not just some political idea, it is a way of life. The rule is simple: if you are not strong enough to survive, you just don't deserve to. And that applies to people, to societies, and to entire planets. And this philosophy, it shapes absolutely everything about them. Their obsession with strength, their hardcore loyalty, and yeah, even their fashion. It's actually pretty wild. The mustache isn't just a style choice, it's a symbol of their cultural identity, a direct tribute to their first emperor, Argal. It's basically a sign of allegiance. This quote right here, from Argal's own philosophy, just perfectly sums up their whole worldview. He didn't see weakness as, a flaw you could overcome. To him, it was a contagion, a sickness that had to be exterminated. And that was the cold, hard logic he used to justify conquering the galaxy for thousands of years. But you know how it goes. No golden age lasts forever. Argal's reign came to a super shocking end, and that triggered the single most devastating period in their entire history. A brutal civil war where they turned that philosophy of purging weakness inward on themselves. It all kicked off with a Viltrumite named Thetis. He looked at Argal's mission and saw it for the cruelty it was, so he did the unthinkable. He assassinated the emperor. Thetis then bolted, becoming the Empire's most wanted man. And he went on to found the Coalition of Planets, pretty much the only real opposition Viltrum ever had. So, with Argal gone and his heir conveniently missing, a massive power vacuum just opened up. The result? The Great Purge. Viltrumite turned on Viltrumite in this desperate, violent free-for-all for control. They put their survival of the fittest ideology to the ultimate test. And the Great Purge was absolutely catastrophic. I mean, look at this. By the time the dust settled, the Viltrumite population had been literally cut in half. Only the most ruthless, the most formidable fighters were left standing. Their survivors were stronger, for sure, but they were also fewer and way more brutal than ever before. And from the ashes of that civil war, a new leader rose to power. A survivor of the Purge who basically embodied all of its violent principles. Grand Regent Thragg. And believe me, his mission was even deadlier than Argal's. Under Thragg, conquest became this streamlined, terrifyingly efficient process. Step 1, scout a weak planet. Step 2, send in an agent to infiltrate their society, learn all their vulnerabilities. And step 3, when the time is right, announce the invasion and take over. It was this cold, calculated strategy that just worked over and over again. And let's be clear, there was zero room for negotiation. If a planet didn't comply, the best you could hope for was total enslavement. The worst case, complete and utter annihilation. If the Viltrumite Empire couldn't have your planet, then nobody could. The Viltrumites honestly seemed unstoppable. Their physical power was just absolute. But their greatest enemy, Thetis, he found a way to attack them where they were actually vulnerable. Not with fists or warships, but with biology. Right, so the coalition of planets knew they could never win a straight-up fight. So they engineered the Scourge Virus, a bioweapon specifically designed to attack the Viltrumite immune system, stripping away all their strength and their invulnerability. And the virus was a horrifying success. It just tore through the Viltrumite population like wildfire. There was no cure. The only way to survive was if you had a naturally strong enough immune system to fight it off. 99.9% of the entire population was just wiped out. Think about that. The most powerful, terrifying species in the universe, the conquerors of countless worlds, were reduced to fewer than 50 pure-blooded individuals. A species on the absolute brink of total extinction. And this brings us to the final chapter of their history, and the part that directly slams into the story we all know. With their empire in ruins and their species nearly gone, the Viltrumites were forced to adopt a radical, desperate new mission. Galactic conquest was completely off the table. Now, survival was the only thing that mattered. Their new primary goal wasn't to conquer worlds, but to find genetically compatible species they could breed with to rebuild their numbers and save their race from just vanishing forever. So that's their whole journey in a nutshell, right? From the tyrannical golden age of Argal, through the self-destruction of the Great Purge, into Thragg's brutal expansion, then getting nearly annihilated by the Scourge Virus, which leads them, finally, to their new mission on Earth. And this is exactly why our planet suddenly became so important. Humans, who they saw as weak and primitive, were discovered to be genetically compatible. So Earth went from being this insignificant little backwater world to being the single most valuable planet in the universe for Viltrumite survival. So here you have a species whose entire history, their culture, their philosophy, their very identity is built on conquest and purging weakness. But now their survival depends on coexisting. So the big question is, can they ever truly escape the nature that has defined them for millennia?